transformation today, we are not just looking at the internet. We are looking at Internet of Things. We are looking at machine learning, big data, robotics, augmented reality, virtual reality. All these are a factor which is changing the nature of job profiles, leading to very common statements that we do not know what the jobs of tomorrow look like. That is the uncertainty, because machines using computer programs are doing jobs which normally, traditionally were being done by the human beings. So today it is very common, even in a state like Kerala, which is otherwise also medically advanced, to have robotic surgeries. The doctor may be there, but the doctor is not the one who is performing the surgery, because the robotic surgery allows for penetration into where human hands could not have entered. The doctor is merely there to ensure that everything is going well with that. That doctor's presence is the power of the human being. And we cannot allow a machine to make the decisions. We have to be the human being to make that decision. So we have to be a master of that disruptive technologies and leverage those disruptive technologies to improve the quality of life. And that is to be done by empowering our students to master all these new disruptive technologies. And the traditional systems of education that we follow, where we do not recognize the I would say almost omnipresent nature of technology, would actually be doing a grave disservice to our youth population, because you are ignoring a very important reality of today and a very important reality which is going to be the way forward to become future ready. The third dimension that I would like you to understand is the other critical component of an education system, which is learning. What are we here all for? We are here for learning. That is what we are here for. And learning is not any longer understood as being a unidimensional activity. A very important report brought out by the UNESCO at the turn of the last century, Learning in the 21st Century, Learning the Treasure Within. This is the title of the report. Learning in the 21st Century, Learning the Treasure Within. And it has been penned by a person called Jacques Delors, commonly referring to that report as the Delors Commission report. And I urge each one of you to have a look at that report to understand the multidimensionality of learning. I am just putting the 4 pillars of learning as outlined in that report. That learning involves 4 aspects. Learning to know, which is what a bulk of us do in a teaching institution, which is the cognitive, the knowledge part of it. Learning to do, which is what many of us do in skill-based courses and practical-based courses, which is the experiential part of it. Learning to live together and to live with others is a part of peaceful coexistence, understanding and honoring diversity, and contributing to sustainable living and sustainable societies. And the last one, learning to be, which is the self-actualization of individual talents and potentials. The learning to be, while it is set in the hierarchy at the level of the last, learning to know, learning to do, learning to live together and with others, and learning to be, is the most important principle of individual talents being optimized. When you say individual talents, you cannot look at this entire group as one monolith. So an education system should be able to nurture, firstly identify, nurture, and promote an individual's holistic development through individualization and customization. So the learning experiences, if as a teacher, I have a class of 40 students, And I think all these 40 students are at the same levels of understanding, of competency, of talents and potential. And I address that class as if they were one monolith. There will be not much learning taking place. Therefore, the NEP 2020, making out the strong case to move away from structured systems of learning, has moved towards flexibility. Flexibility in subject choices, curricular choices, flexibility in medium of instruction and language, flexibility in the teaching learning methodologies and the actual pedagogies involved in that, and the methods of assessment and evaluation. So the NEP 2020 is built on these two major aspects, recognizing the multidimensionality of learning and recognizing the interconnectedness of knowledge domains situated in the larger context of the disruptive technologies and driven by two goals. At the national level, India is having the largest youth population in the world today, with an average age of just about 27 years and a window of opportunity that is remaining up to 2037. This window of opportunity can become what we call the demographic dividend only if these young population is empowered with the right kind of knowledge, skills and capabilities that will make them productive individuals contributing to their individual development, societal development, economic development, national development and global development. And if we do not do that, you are staring at a very bleak future of a demographic disaster with people who are young, have a lot of energy, but who do not possess skills and competencies, likely to remain unemployed or underemployed, and therefore going towards aberrations within the society, causing a great social and economic crisis. The other is the fact, as a country, it was read out in the very beginning, we are a signatory to the Sustainable Development Goals, and the Sustainable Development Goal 4 on education is to ensure that we provide inclusive and equitable quality education with lifelong learning opportunities to all. This is the context in which a new national education policy has been formulated, and as Professor Ajit mentioned, after a painstakingly very long exercise of 5.5 years, I would call it as one of the most monumental exercises that any country would have undertaken in order to bring out any policy. It ran from October 2014 to July 2020, has gone through online consultations, grassroots level consultation in a country as large as India. 6 lakhs villages were consulted, 6,000 blocks were consulted, 3,000 urban local bodies were consulted, and 600 districts across 26 states and UTs. We have consulted all of them through a very participatory exercise with expert committees, both driven by the ministry and by autonomous bodies like the UGC, AICTE, NCERT, Association of Indian Universities, the Central Board of Secondary Education, Kendriya Vidyalayas, Navodaya Vidyalayas, and many central institutions and state institutions taking the lead for the consultations. 3 committee reports. The first committee report, headed by the former Cabinet Secretary, late Shri TSR Subramanian. A ministry exercise, both of these reports are available in public domain. Please understand that. And the final committee, of which I was blessed to be the secretary of that committee, headed by Dr. K. Kasturirangan, which report got accepted by the government and subsequently became the NEP 2020. Now please understand the volume of suggestions that the NEP 2020 has sifted through run into 7.5 suggestions. This is a humongous exercise. emphasize that any country, and a country as large as India, if it has to be citizen driven, if it has to be participatory, all stakeholders ranging from the honorable members of the parliament to the government of India ministries, to the state governments, to teacher associations, to student bodies, to civil society, to industry, all stakeholders have had an opportunity to express their views on the National Education Policy 2020. But let me not waste my time, and in another 10 minutes, I hope I can take 10 minutes, just try to tell you what are those broad changes that we are looking about in NEP 2020. And I would not like to exclude the many changes that we bring about in school education. You see, the NEP looked at education as a single trajectory in an organic continuum, in the sense that as far as a child is concerned who goes to a play school, the journey of that child is one single trajectory or continuum. You may make administrative functionalities to look at school education separately, to look at higher education separately, look at technical education. But as far as the education trajectory and the transaction is concerned, it is one single continuum. There is an organic linkage, and therefore one needs to understand that if someone needs to perform better in higher education, you need to have a strong foundation in your school education. And NEP 2020 has talked about a new paradigm, which all of you heard, the 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. It is not a physical restructuring of schools. It is only a pedagogical and curricular restructuring related to age-appropriate learning with a strong base of early childhood care and education, backed by empirical evidence which tell us that the brain development that happens and the neural synaptic connections that develop in the brain happen maximum between the ages of 0 to 6. But because school education cannot as a department handle health-related aspects of young infants, we are not touching upon the 0 to 3. But we are looking at from 3 onwards, the 3 to 6 with a very strong ECC program, and the grades 1 and the 2 coming together to form what we call the foundational stage, where we want children to not have formal learning through paper and pencil, but to discover learning through a joy-based play-way method which helps the neural connections to be formed in the brain. And here is where the question of equity arises. You and I, privileged group, where we can afford to send our children to play schools, their brain development happens. But the bulk of the Indian population who cannot afford to send their children to the play schools, they send them to the Anganwadis, and in the Anganwadis, with all due respect to a very robust integrated child development scheme of the government of India, takes care of the health and the nutrition of both the mother and the child. But it does not have the wherewithal to take care of the learning and the education of those children. There is where the divide starts taking place. That child coming in from an Anganwadi system has not been prepared to learn. Learning preparedness comes in through an early childhood care program. That is why you know that the government of India has announced that age 6 will be the age for class 1 admission. All state governments have to follow suit, but from 3 to 4 and 4 to 5 and 5 to 6 will be your ECCE program. So the first is the foundational, followed by the preparatory for 8 to 11. 11 to 14 is the middle stage. The middle stage is seeing the maximum changes, where currently in the school education, we have created an artificial separation between curricular subjects, co-curricular subjects, extracurricular subjects, arts subjects, commerce subjects, vocational subjects, not realizing that all of us are not geared for mathematics and science. And in today's world, music, dramatics, sports, carpentry, plumbing, logistics and supply management, any of these are equally important to an individual's development. And all these must be given optimal credits and weightage, the learning to be, the self-actualization of individual talents and potentials. Because the student is not good at maths, we have no business as educators to make a value judgment to call that student a duffer. You have to give that opportunity to the child, identify what that child is good at, and give them that enabling ecosystem for that talent to flourish. So right at the middle school stage, this separation is done away with. All subjects in all areas, whether you play cricket, whether you play hockey, whether you sing, whether you dance, everything will have weightage. And those marks will count to your final credits at your class 10 and your class 12. And this is translated with another change in class 6, where so long we've been testing only rote memory and forcing children to learn by heart. And they memorize it without really having a conceptual understanding. The shift in the teaching learning methodologies and assessment from class 6 will see that we will try to recognize cognitive abilities, creative abilities, scientific temper, problem solving skills, and no question paper should be a direct reflection of what is there in the textbook. So even if I give you a textbook in the examination, you will not be able to write a paper because there is no answer in that textbook that is there. You will have to apply your creative abilities, your scientific temper, your problem solving skills. Obviously, the teaching learning methodology will have to change. And that is what that change in the middle school stage is reflected in higher education towards what we call the flexible 3-year, 4-year undergraduate program with the facilities of multiple entry and exit, with an academic bank of credit, which is a digital storehouse of academic credits, allowing for a 7-year period where a student is allowed to complete a degree with a terminal certification at the end of every year, empowering that child to get a certificate at the end of the first year, a diploma at the end of the second year, a bachelor's at the end of the third year, and if it is not a professional degree, can choose to exit the undergraduate program. If it is a professional program, the fourth year, and even a general degree, like what you may be having your BBA and so on, will go on to become a 4-year program. Concomitantly, you will have a change in the duration of your master's and your admission to the PhD. A 3-year bachelor's will do a 2 years master's, a 4-year bachelor's will do a 1 year of master's, and a 4-year bachelor's with research submitting a dissertation is exempted from master's to do a PhD program directly. That is the flexibility. We are allowing you to choose courses not only in your own institution, maybe in MES Marampalli, but also take up, let us say, dramatics, if it is available in an institution outside it, that is through a clustering approach, and even take up courses through open and distance learning. This is the flexibility that we have woven into the NEP as a reflection of the changes that are happening in a highly interconnected knowledge world, and where learning requires us to become masters of all the 4 aspects of learning, and which requires individualization and customization. The NEP makes out a very strong case for creating optimal learning environments for students, focusing on not just their academic counseling and career counseling, but also contributing to their holistic development in dramatics and music and debating and sports and wellness, as well as mental health. In today's world, what is unique about the generation that separates us from 20th to the 21st is the child of today, the 18-year-old coming to you, is born with the internet, born with the mobile, and whose world of friends are not human beings that you see in blood and skin, but who exist on Facebook, on Instagram, and many other virtual platforms. What has happened is that because they are not having the comfort and the luxury that we had of an extended family and having real friends, they have become quite isolated. They cannot share their anxieties. And you see on the campus a huge crisis that is brewing up, leading to drugs, substance abuse, because these are all escapist methods. When you get 1,000 likes on Facebook for a post, you feel so elated. You put a post and you see that nobody is there, or you're getting a lot of flack. You suddenly find that the child is withdrawing and going into depression. So students have to be given emotional and psychological counseling, and the NEP 2020 talks about the need for the holistic development, including the socio-emotional counseling that our young students have. And the entire change is to be driven by you and me as faculty. We as educators must understand that our role is here not as information givers. Information is available at the click of a mouse today. And even as we speak in a platform, you will find that students would have gone much ahead of you in getting that information. What are you here for? You are there as a facilitator to help learners to learn more effectively. Learning how to learn, mentoring, enabling, being a co-learner, engaging with the learners, engaging with the curricula in active learning environments, not a passive talk that you give with a chalk and talk, or the other famous thing of a PowerPoint where you do not even have to use your head for that. That is not the way teachers have to conduct themselves in a classroom. You need to engage. I shouldn't be standing at a place like this if I'm a teacher. I have to stand with you, be a co-learner, give you quizzes, give you group activities, encourage each one. Someone cannot communicate in English, encourage that person to speak in the language they speak. India is a country with a rich pluralistic heritage of languages. And we have said in NEP that undergraduate education, postgraduate education can take place in regional languages. It's a game changer. Completely, because we have reached a stage where we think English is intelligence. Highly fallacious. When I started my teaching career in Bombay University, sat for centralized evaluation, I used to know an answer script which came from Marathwada as against an answer script which came from South Bombay College. Because the content of a South Bombay College student would be very less. And the presentation style almost takes you to a certain level of assessing that learner. And a Marathwada student is struggling to communicate and articulate his thoughts on that answer script. And I have always given the index of disadvantage to that student from Marathwada. This is what nuanced teaching calls for. And the NEP 2020 as creating an enabling ecosystem. It promotes integration of vocational education with mainstream education, strengthens open and distance learning, makes out a very strong case for germinating research at undergraduate levels, a very strong case for internationalization of higher education through joint degrees and training programs, and finally, it also makes out a very strong case for the focus of your discussion here on integration of technology for better teaching learning, for improving educational administration, for collaborative research, and for making us masters of technology. And though we may be at different levels of preparedness in the use of technology, which is what happened during COVID, we got thrown into a situation of online education. But as students, we were not prepared. As parents, we were not prepared. As teachers, we were not prepared. As institutions, we are not prepared. And we are living in a time of a huge digital divide, and where you do not have an internet penetration and the last mile connectivity. If you want it to be inclusive, you have to address the digital divide, empower those who are not having the access to the digital devices, and ensure that technology becomes a leveler, not a divider. And I hope that this conference will have papers which addresses how technology is a huge tool which we can transform, but how this technology needs to be used in a manner which makes education accessible, equitable, of better quality, affordable, and also make the stakeholders accountable. Let me stop over here, and I inaugurate this program and wish it all the success. And I hope I can inspire you to understand that NEP is a game changer. If we do not embrace it, we will be out of the stream of development. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. We will now have the release of Book of Abstracts of our ICSSR sponsored International Conference ICDT 23. To do the honors, may I invite our respected dignitary, Dr. Shakila Shamsu, and most dynamic principal, Dr. Azim C. Muhammad, on the stage. Thank you. I now call upon Mr. M. A. Mohammed, Secretary, MES College Management Committee, to address the gathering.
Honorable Ambassador Williams, respected Dr. Shakila Shamsu, Dr. Manohar, dignitaries on the dais, and participants. It is indeed a great pleasure for me to stand before you rather than with the dignitaries on the dais, because I had a very few occasions like this when I could stand with the dignitaries on the dais, like our Honorable Ambassador and most respected Shakila and Manohar. I would like to say anything further and waste your valuable time, and especially of the dignitaries, because Dr. Shakila has already given a comprehensive and inclusive talk on not only on the digital transition, but she has touched almost all fields of activities of academic, and especially these days when the present generation just goes to the college just to get a job. But she has just abolished that idea and given you new thoughts on different fields. Anyway, at this juncture, I do not wish to take much of the time on elaborating what she has said, because you are going to hear much more. And I will have been a great pleasure for me to attend these sessions, but I think my age would not permit me to comprehend all those ideas which may be exposed in those meetings. Nevertheless, again I repeat, I do not want to carry gold or coal to Newcastle by repeating what has been said. And I'm sure those of you who are attending this function, this program will benefit not only to expand your knowledge, but I'm sure it will be most interesting, instructive, and most informative. Thank you. May God bless you all.
you, sir. I now invite Dr. Manohar Chinnanna Ulmane to address the gathering.
Namaskara, Shubhadinam, Halaya. It's a great honor, Honorable Chief Guest, Shakila Damsmet, Madam. I think I must acknowledge with gratitude this morning you really made our day. Thank you very, very much. Honorary Secretary Mohammed Sir, Principal Dr. Mohammed Sir, Madam Swapna Mohammed, Dr. Jasmine, Dr. Shemi, Dr. Shiba, and all my friends. Last evening, I flew from Delhi. Thanks for bringing me from Delhi. It was pretty late in the evening. Normally, when I'm sitting in the plane, I peep out through the windows and start watching the clouds. We are in the age of cloud today. And I see the real natural cloud. And then sunset happens. I see those beautiful colors of nature. How the moods of the nature keep changing, which is transferring, transition, transformation that happens. And then comes the shades. To glitter that shades of blackness or the darkness, suddenly you see stars emerging. When I started from Delhi, somewhere midway, when we are crossing through Madhya Pradesh, stars appeared. And I could see some stars. And as I was coming towards south, and as I entered, crossed some Karnataka part and entering Kerala, the stars disappeared. I was just wondering what is happening. And I could only realize after coming to here in Mampalli, after coming to MES college here, and in this hall, all those stars have all descended here in this hall to create that aura. Thanks to kudos to all of you friends. These are the shining stars, the bright stars, the emerging stars, and the stars of the future. And if at all, whatever we are talking from this end has to become real, it is they who have to make it. So star watching is a very, very good habit, and I can see as a practice in life that we must be doing it, and I congratulate all the stars who are here. Well, friends, digital transition is a theme that you have given. Digital transformation, in fact, ma'am has spelled on that very deeply. And today we have moved from all the ages of mobile phones, in fact, those are the days. For a telephone to become popular, reach a million, it took more than 100 years. But mobiles, it took just a decade. And for all these other things like the smartphones, etc., just a few weeks and months. And the technology, Instagram, the Google took, Gmail took a couple of months, but Instagram took a few weeks, and ChatGPT, what they call it, has took a few days only. Now, for everything we go and ask ChatGPT what is happening. Just last week, we can tweak, look at the fact in America. A businessman dealing with a multinational company for 5 months after delivering the service, he was not getting his payment. So what did he asked his lawyer, can you issue a notice or an email? Can you send me a draft? I want to send to my client. I have to get my money. And the advocate said, the lawyer said, well, you give me a day's time and then you have to send me in advance $1,000 check. So he had a young team in his office, and one of them, like you, walked to him. Boss, what are you trying to do? Here is my solution. He just went to ChatGPT and put the question, this is the problem that I have, this is what I have to take action, and then within a few seconds, a draft email came. which you use as a CFO of that company to the client. And within a few minutes, the client, when it writes back, we shall pay you. Well, friends, what is going to happen to all the advocates now? If ChatGPT can do what a human professional can do, and we are worried now. Tomorrow, principal and Shiva madam will not call us. She will simply ask ChatGPT to deliver a talk. We will become unemployed. Tomorrow, a teacher may not be called to conduct a class. But as madam said, that human intervention is very, very necessary in this. In fact, our students are becoming very savvy, tech savvy. One student, young girl, who was tech savvy, she had a problem. She asked many people, teachers, ma'am, I have a problem. I said, what's your problem? This is my problem. Next problem, what is the problem? She said, I have a problem with my husband. Huh? What's the problem? Why are you asking me? What is the problem, by the way? Problem is, my husband is not collaborating with me. Your husband is not collaborating with you? What is the problem? When did you meet him? I met him on a friendly platform, Facebook. We saw each other on the Facebook. So then what happened? Now we became friends. And then what happened? Then we were engaged on Cupid.com. Then we got married on Wedding.com. Then what happened? Now the problem is he's visiting Flood.com too much. So what's your problem? So I want a solution. What the ChatGPT told? Okay, now you have children, Cloud.com. Send them to your husband through Gmail. If he responds is fine, get back to your friend.com. And if he's still useless, put him on the OLX.com. Well, friends, our day-to-day life is becoming so much tech savvy, as madam said, that our screen time engagement is becoming lot more. Today, a child, I have a 3-year grandson. First thing in the morning, after looking at his mom, he looks at his, where is the mobile phone? Now this is the kind of a stickiness that is coming, and the life is going to become very tough. So in digital transition, we have got to see that value of human connect and the education policy. I think, ma'am, you really brilliantly expressed what perhaps you'll have to spend days and days to understand what it is. In a few minutes you have presented so effectively, so well. I must thank you for all this. And I must thank the institution for creating this kind of an aura in the institution. It's a great institution, and this morning in my conversation with the Honorary Secretary, he told me the great work that the institution is doing. We are agnostic to caste, creed, religion and kind of things, and we have embraced the whole society. That's a great value, sir, that you have brought, and I must thank the Honorable Principal. And I think Madam Shiba has been having tough time. Of course, one side she had to fix problems at the families, the children's health. Other side, getting speakers, international speakers, is such a thing. In fact, when she requested me that we are looking for this conference, some good speakers to come from abroad, then fortunately for me, I have my network. In fact, one of the sessions is connecting and building networks, and that network worked. When I requested Ambassador Kurunziza, Williams Kurunziza, whom I have known for quite some time, and he first asked me a few questions which I was able to answer. I said, you should go to the God's own country. I said, yes. And the next, you should go to Manampalli. Where is it? Oh, it's Kochi. Okay. And then, okay, who else is coming? So we have another common friend. I think Shiba ma'am has put in a lot of efforts to get him to come to the college. Tomorrow he is going to be here. And then I said, fair enough, and she gave me opportunity also to be here along with them. I must thank you all for this wonderful opportunity. We are going to have sessions. Let me just, Ambassador Williams Kurunziza is a global citizen. I think if we start speaking, it's just not for Africa, not just for Rwanda or Kigali, it's for the whole world. He's been ambassador in many countries, and he has put his hands and brains in many fields, and I think what we are going to be benefited. Thank you, Vida, for your precious time, and I look forward with all eagerness and interest. Principal sir, thanks for this wonderful reception what you given, ma'am, and all of you for that matter. I'm charged with looking at all the smileys. We don't have to go to mobile to see the smiley and select and fix it. I see all the smileys over here. Congratulations, thank you for your great time.
Thank you, sir. I now humbly request our versatile and beautiful Staff Association Secretary, Dr. Shemi PM, to address the gathering.
Good morning, all. Respected dignitaries on and off the dais, delegates, participants of various institutions, colleagues, and my dear students. It is indeed a great pleasure to be here on this occasion for the inaugural session of the two-day ICSSR sponsored international conference organized by Department of Business Administration. First of all, let me congratulate the entire team of Business Administration headed by Dr. Swapna, the coordinator of the program, Dr. Shiva, for getting this fund for choosing a topic of relevant interest, and for which they could get an ICSSR fund for organizing the program. And we are happy to have Dr. Shakila Shamsu as our guest of honor today, and this is the second time we are hearing from her. I express our gratitude on behalf of Staff Association. I express our gratitude to her for her great insight into education and national education policy during her inaugural address. On behalf of Staff Association, I express our gratitude to you, ma'am. And being the conferences of international thing, you participants have got a great opportunity to hear from invited speakers in and outside the country. On behalf of, then I understand that 40 papers are presenting in this conference under various tracks, so I congratulate the participants or paper presenters, the registered participants, and I wish them all the best. And on behalf of Staff Association, I extend our sincere support to this program, and I wish this program every success. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I invite Dr. Lina Shego, Head of Department of Computer Applications, Research Guide and Convener, and also Discipline Management Committee of our college.
Most respected dignitaries on and off the dais, participants from various institutions, my dear colleagues and dear students. Being a faculty from Computer Science Department, I feel very proud to be a part of this inaugural session of this two-day international conference. I was thinking, the chief guest, really our students, the other students missed the speech, because how nicely she told everything regarding this NCP concept. Most of the students, they are unaware of the fact. Really, from the basic of computer science, that is from the information or the raw facts data, to how to acquire the knowledge. Very clearly, she was explaining all the terms information, the difference between information as well as knowledge. And the human, they are learning the machines. They are learning everything to them. So in the coming future, even we doubt whether there will be a need of teacher to teach the students. That's a big fact we have to consider. So on behalf of Department of Computer Applications, I wish all the success to this two-day international conference, Digital Transformation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. May I now invite the Honorable Chief Guest, Dr. Shakila Shamsu, to receive the memento, a token of love and appreciation from us to the dais. To do the honors, may I invite our Secretary, Mr. M.A. Mohammed, sir, to the stage.
Thank you. Now, we come to the last part of the inaugural session. I call upon Dr. Shiba KH, Coordinator ICT 23, to propose vote of thanks.
Respected dignitaries on of the dais, a very good morning to all. Much ink has been spilled on identifying tech trends, but less attention has been paid to the implication of those changes. To help understand how management will need to adapt in the face of these technology trends in the next 3 to 5 years, we spoke to business leaders, leading thinkers on the topic. We weren't looking for prognostications. We wanted to explore realistic scenarios, their implications, and what senior executives might do to get ready. The discussions pinpointed some broad interrelated shifts, such as how technology's radically increasing power is exerting a centrifugal force on the organization, pushing innovation to expert networks at the edges of the company. How the pace and proliferation of these innovations call for radical new approaches to continuous learning built around skills deployed at points of need. How these democratizing forces mean that IT can no longer act as centralized control of technology deployment and operations, but instead needs to become a master enabler and influencer, and how these new technologies are creating more data about and touch points with customers, which is reshaping the boundaries of trust and requiring a much broader understanding of a company's security responsibilities. This was our imperative while designing a theme for ICT 23, and from the widespread research areas covered through diverse research topics demonstrated that our vision has been fulfilled. Let me now move on to duty bestowed upon me. First and foremost, let me thank our most respected dignitaries, Dr. Shakila Shamsu, our chief guest, Ambassador Williams, Dr. Manohar sir, for sparing their time and effort to ICT 23. Words are actually not enough to express my gratitude, especially to Dr. Manohar sir, who made us feel more like a host rather than a guest. Ambassador Williams, who feels like I've known him for a couple of years rather than a couple of hours actually. Then I really had a fortune to have a minor discussion with the chief patron, Dr. Shakila Shamsu, a dynamic personality, which of course you would have guessed by now, with facets of excellence and aura. On behalf of our college and participants of ICT 23, I extend our gratitude to our beloved dignitaries. Let me take this opportunity to thank our supporting management, our chairman, who in his absence, and secretary, Mr. Abhay Mohammed sir, for the wonderful cooperation and support extended. I thank our principal, Dr. Ajit P. Mohammed, who endlessly, and I must say very meticulously, had been with us throughout the program. I thank our vibrant vice principal, Dr. Jasmine PM, and Chair Staff Associate Secretary, Dr. Shelly PM, who always share the enthusiasm to all our endeavors. Then, of course, digital technology go hand in hand with computer applications. So I express this part where I thank the head of department, head of computer application department of Meenakshi Shekhar. I now thank the core of ICT 23, the lady staff, ever supportive head Dr. Zarnabi Mohammed, for all the pains and efforts too. I thank all the participants who accepted the invitation and graced the occasion. Now let me thank the persons who stood by me, who were with me, who shared my pains, my tensions, my pressures, everything. My team, my colleagues, my students. Dears, without you, this would not have become a reality. From the core of my heart, I extend all my thanks and gratitude to all. Lastly, beloved God, Almighty, must be with me throughout His blessings. Thank you all. I wish you all the very best. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Now we have come to the end of the inaugural session, and I humbly request all the dignitaries to occupy their seats amongst the audience. We will now disperse for tea and soon resume with the plenary session by Dr. Manohar sir.
I request all the participants to be back by 11:50 am to commence the session. Thank you.
സാറിനല്ലേ ഇതിപ്പോ പോസ് ചെയ്തേക്കല്ലേ ഇത് ഓഫ് ചെയ്തോട്ടെ ചാർജർ ചാർജ് ചെയ്യാനോ മറ്റേ ബാറ്ററി അതെത്ര ഉണ്ട്